Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira Manachari. Yamunatira Manachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Just reminder 14. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 14th day of January 2025 in San Diego, 2026 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 16, the Divine and Demoniac Natures, and we're on text 5 on page 622. Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Suri Mata Ma Shuchaha Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Asi Pandava Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nabandaya Surimata Mashichak Sampadang Daivim Abhijato Sipandava Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Surimata Mashushak Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nabandaya Surimata Mashushak Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nabandaya Surimata Sampadam Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava. You got it there, Bhusha? Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nabandaya Surimata Mashuchak Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava. Go ahead, Jeff. Let Jeff go. Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Surimata Mashuchak Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava. Oh, sorry. Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Surimata Mashuchak Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava. Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandaya Surimata Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijato Sipandava. Anyone online? Vanessa? Guess not tonight. Okay. Daivi, transcendental. Sampat, assets. Vimokshaya, meant for liberation. Nibandaya, for bondage. Asuri, demoniac qualities. Mata, are considered. Ma, do not. Shuchaha, worry. Sampadam, assets. Daivim, transcendental. Abhijataha, born of. Asi, you are. Pandava, O son of Pandu. Translation. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. Purport. Lord Krishna encouraged Arjuna by telling him that he was not born with demoniac qualities. His involvement in the fight was not demoniac because he was considering the pros and cons. He was considering whether respectable persons such as Bhishma and Drona should be killed or not. So he was not acting under the influence of anger, false prestige, or harshness. Therefore, he was not of the quality of the demons. For a Kshatriya, a military man, shooting arrows at the enemy is considered transcendental, and refraining from such a duty is demoniac. Therefore, there was no cause for Arjuna to lament. Anyone who performs the regulative principles of the different orders of life is transcendentally situated. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So Daivi Sampad, these transcendental qualities we heard about in the first few verses of this chapter. There's a whole list there describing the qualities that are good for the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and also for the Brahmacharis, Grahastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis. And then we had one or two verses, I think only one verse here. Yes, verse 4, where we got a little hint about the demoniac qualities. We're going to hear a lot more for the rest of the chapter. Pride, arrogance, this is the previous verse. Conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Pritha. And just a word on that word pride, it means false pride. Damba primarily means hypocrisy. But when you think about it, hypocrisy is engaged in because one wants to seem like he's something he's not. So there's that element of pride always there in hypocrisy. So that's a characteristic of the demons. And now he's encouraging Arjun, don't worry, Arjun, you are born with these divine qualities. The divine qualities which lead to liberation, whereas the asuric qualities lead to bondage. Bondage means birth, death, old age, disease, like that. So the rest of the chapter, after the next verse 6, we're going to hear more and more about the demoniac qualities, and for the most part. Okay. Text 6. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin daiva asada evacha daivo vistarashak prokta asadam partameshunu. O son of Pritha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. Purport. Lord Krishna, having assured Arjuna that he was born with the divine qualities, is now describing the demoniac way. The conditioned living entities are divided into two classes in this world. Those who are born with divine qualities follow a regulated life. That is to say, they abide by the injunctions in scriptures and by the authorities. One should perform duties in the light of authoritative scripture. This mentality is called divine. One who does not follow the regulative principles as they are laid down in the scriptures and who acts according to his whims is called demoniac or asuric. There is no other criterion but obedience to the regulative principles of scriptures. It is mentioned in Vedic literature that both the demigods and the demons are born of the Prajapati, that's Brahma. The only difference is that one class obeys the Vedic injunctions and the others does not. Now, it sounds pretty, rigid. There's two classes, two kinds of created beings. One is called divine, the other demoniac. Okay, but one can, from the demoniac, one can become the divine, right? One can change his behavior. That's the great quality of the human being, that with intelligence and the right association, one can take on these divine qualities by the practice of devotional service, which will cleanse the heart of these lower qualities and lower modes and reveal the original divine quality of all of us. Since the living entity is by nature divine. Mamai vangsho jiva loki, Krishna says in the previous chapter, that these living entities here are my anksha. Anksha means a little particle, just like a drop of water from the ocean. So the little drop has the same quality. So we have Krishna's qualities to a minute degree. But the problem is that by association with the modes of nature, they get covered. Our actual original nature is covered. So Krishna consciousness is a process of uncovering or purifying. Cheto darpanamarjanam. Dust is a big layer of dust on the mirror. So you have to reveal what the real nature of the mirror is, and then you can see yourself in there also. That's the first words of the Shikshastika, Lord Chaitanya's instruction. So that's Krishna's, he's explaining here there are these two general categories in this world, but they're not set in stone, meaning that the demoniac can become divine and the divine can become demoniac. by bad association. So we have to make the choice. Do we want to become divine, or do we want to stay demoniac, become more demoniac? So I remember reading it, somehow this comes to mind is the fifth canto. You know, if you're going to be an out-and-out demon, then it's good to read the fifth canto, because you'll find out what your future holds. You know, these hells, I mean, come on. It's scary. You know, if you get too much involved in illicit sex, there's this whole ethos developed, because I was there in the 60s, you know, is that this is natural, you know? I mean, now we have the wonderful gift of, you know, it's contraception, so we don't have to worry about having kids, you know? And so it was just, but I'm telling you, so much misery arose from that. You know, the diseases and you know, the breakups, you know, the emotional turmoil from that. And you add into it, of course, and then the drugs, which is the same thing. Oh, look, we can just drop this at tavern. We can have a nice trip, you know, and we'll have sex, and everything will be fine. But it was Prabhupada came into that, you know, into that environment. And I remember, because I listened to lectures all the time, and he was saying, well, in India, you know, you find people living more or less on the street, you know, beggars who were sitting there on the street. I remember when I went to Vrindavan, even there at the temples, they're sitting outside, you know, you give donations, you know. And so Prabhupada that's something you find all the time. And Prabhupada came to me, I'll never find that in America. He found it. Now we have, you know, thousands of homeless people. There's this one guy who's made his camp out here in the alley between, you know, when I go home, I pass him, you know. And it's you know, it's heartrending to see. And the cold weather, you know, somehow they found something to wrap themselves in, you know, but they can't keep it clean. There's no way of keeping clean. But this guy is a little more clear-minded. You know, he says Hare Krishna, he says hello, and greets me, and he's a little more. But that's even more tragic. Here's someone with some intelligence. Somehow, you know, housing is so impossible sometimes, you know, and you know, but somehow he's surviving life after life like that. There was this one lady out here. I'll just tell this one story. She was from Texas somewhere, and she was with a guy, another homeless guy that she met, and they were a couple, you know, kind of. But she was intelligent, and she was interested in what we were doing. She was right out back here for a while, and then she moved down the alley a little bit. And so she was interested. I got her some beads, chanting. She had a book, you know, and everything. But just the stress, the emotional, you know, weight of having lost whatever she had and having to live on the street, you know. Eventually, I heard from the guy that she had committed suicide. She just, and don't try this at home, you know. I mean, but it's an easy way to commit suicide. You just buy a couple of bottles of ibuprofen, you take them all at once, you know, or acetaminophen. It's poison if you take too much. So then the guy, he made a little memorial at the end of the alley down here, and there was something at a tree, you know, and it's kind of it's sad, you know. But at least she had a little contact with Krishna. She was chanting a little bit, you know. So having, you know, understood that and seeing how tenuous life is in this world, and now with the political situation and the climate change and the, you know, there's all this turmoil at any time. I mean, you remember just what was it, a couple of years ago now, they had these horrific fires upstate, and people who, I remember this was a previous fire. There was a town up there called Paradise. And it was a retirement community. People with some money went up there. The whole thing burned down, you know. I mean, I don't know if too many people died. They were able to get out, you know. But so this is what the nature of the material world is. Krishna, what is that famous verse? Samashrita he padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho morari pavam buddhi vatsapadam parampadam padam padam yad vipadam natesham. You have to be deaf not to hear the poetic. So this is a verse. I think it's in the 14th chapter, 10th canto. And it's about taking shelter of the boat of Krishna's lotus feet to cross over this dangerous ocean of birth and death. So it says samashrita means taking full shelter. Taking shelter of the lotus feet means, becoming a pure devotee and just, samashrita padapallavaplavam. So the lotus feet, plavam is the boat, which are mahatpadam. Mahatpadam means two things. One is that's where all the Mahatmas stay, at the feet, you see. Mahatma. Or can also be Mahatattva, which is the whole world rests on him, on his lotus feet. Punya Yasho. Punya Yasho means just by glorifying him, you get pious credits. You become pious, it affects you. Murari, the enemy of Mura demon, that's a name for Krishna. So what happens to this ocean? You're in a boat, it's in a Bhavambudir. It shrinks down to the size of the water. Where? No, a calf's hoof print. Not even a cow, but it's so small you can just step over it. You don't even need the boat. So in other words, the ocean is not so formidable. I mean, this ocean out here, just to think of trying to cross it in some kind of boat that you can come together with, rather than an ocean liner. So, Bhavambudir Vatsapadam Param Padam. Because you're param is a abbreviation for the param dharma. You're in Brahman. You're already outside. You're in the spiritual world. Param padam, and then the last line padam, step by step. Padam vibadam natesham. Not for them who have taken shelter of that boat, who are already in the spiritual world, is this place where there's danger at every step. It's one thing to be in the ocean, it's dangerous, but even on land, there's danger at every step. So recognizing the danger of this world, we have this material, this human form of life, but it's very fragile. That was one of the advantages of the pandemic. Suddenly, in everybody's mind, is, well, I'm not so safe here, even with the vaccines, or there was this whole culture that all the vaccines are even more dangerous. Anyway, I got every vaccine I could, or every booster I could, and I got through it. But some said, no, I'm going to take the vaccine. We lost a couple of devotees that way. Anyway, so there really is danger at every step, at every breath, and so therefore we can't waste a minute. That's the other verse. Turnam yateta nabade. Without wasting any time, immediately apply your mind and senses and everything to the practice of Krishna consciousness. Because even if you do die unexpectedly soon, whatever you have done in Krishna consciousness, that'll assure you have a human life, and in that human life you'll pick up where you left off. There's no loss. Whereas anything you get materially is taken away. Whether it's relationships or money or prestige, or it's all gone with the body. So it makes perfect sense to cultivate the divine qualities, which we heard about. Now let's hear about more of the demonic qualities. All right, text 7 starts and goes on for several verses. Pravrittim chanavrittim cha janana virurasaraha Nasaucham na pichacharo nasatyam teshu vidyate. All right, here comes the demons. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. Purport. In every civilized human society, there is some set of scriptural rules and regulations which is followed from the beginning of life. Especially among the Aryans, those who adopt the Vedic civilization and who are known as the most advanced civilized peoples. Those who do not follow the scriptural injunctions are supposed to be demons, are said to be demons. Therefore, it is stated here that the demons do not know the scriptural rules, nor do they have any inclination to follow them. Most of them do not know them, and even if some of them know, they have not the tendency to follow them. They have no faith, nor are they willing to act in terms of the Vedic injunctions. The demons are not clean, either externally or internally. One should always be careful to keep his body clean by bathing, brushing teeth, shaving, changing clothes, etc. As far as internal cleanliness is concerned, one should always remember the holy names of God by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The demons neither like nor follow all these rules for external and internal cleanliness. As for behavior, there are many rules and regulations guiding human behavior, such as the Manusamhita, which is the law of the human race. Even up to today, those who are Hindus follow the Manusamhita. Laws of inheritance and other legalities are derived from this book. Now, in the Manusamhita, it is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom. Hare Krishna. That does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they're like children. Children are not given freedom, but that does not mean that they are kept as slaves. The demons have now neglected such injunctions, and they think that women should be given as much freedom as men. However, this has not improved the social condition of the world. Actually, a woman should be given protection at every stage of life. She should be given protection by the father in her younger days, by the husband in her youth, and by the grown-up sons in her old age. This is proper social behavior according to the Manusamhita. But modern education has artificially devised a puffed-up concept of womanly life, and therefore marriage is practically now an imagination in human society. The social condition of women is thus not very good now, although those who are married are in a better condition than those who are proclaiming their so-called freedom. The demons therefore do not accept any instruction which is good for society, and because they do not follow the experience of great sages and the rules and regulations laid down by the sages, the social condition of the demoniac people is very miserable. So to be honest with you, I usually dread this purport, because, and there's one in the chapter 1 also. But just one point. I have to read it. Prabhupada says that those ladies who take up Krishna consciousness, he says specifically, speaking of those who are in the movement, and who especially preaching, and there are many wonderful lady preachers. In fact, I must say that in this United States, a good portion of the temples are led by women. I was just reading. Because I used to visit Alachua, the community in northern Florida, near about 25 miles from Jacksonville, near Gainesville. It's a farm community, but they don't do so much active farming there. They have a few cows, but there's quite a few devotees there. And for, I don't know how long, at least 15 years now, it's been led by this lady, Mukhya Devi. And I was just reading. Usually I get the newsletter, but I just erase it. But I've been reading it the last couple of weeks, and it's such a wonderful description of what's going on there. They have now, in the last, I guess, year, they developed and still developing, caretakers, for elderly devotees, because a lot of devotees, like retire there, for taking care of them, making sure they're Krishna conscious, and also helping with their, material needs and so forth. They have a school, and they're always have guest sannyasis who come down there. They were announcing Ramapad Swami's visit, and Bhakti Marg Swami was just there. And it's such a variety of things, and I'm telling you, this is one of the things, because I used to visit there regularly every year, twice a year. And for years, first of all, the little history of the deities here. When I came here in '89, these Gauranatai deities were not here. There were a smaller set which actually had come from Pavamana and Sampada's house. They had donated there, so we have these deities. They were nice, the brass deities, about two-thirds the size, But there was a devotee named Hari Sari, who's quite famous because he was Prabhupada's personal servant. He wrote a book called Transcendental Diary, which is very nice, day by day with Prabhupada. And his wife, named Shitala, who turns out to be a really nice author, she wrote a beautiful biography of Narottam Das Thakur. But she had a special skill for overseeing the carving of deities. And the result was always that these deities had a special aura. And so these Gaura deities, they lived here for a year because they were working with Back to Godhead magazine with Jayaweda Swami. And then they went back to India. But whilst they were here, I don't know if she stayed here for that, because the deities usually are carved in India, but she saw the need and she offered, and they said, yes, if you can somehow help us to get established a bigger Gaura, that would be great. So she did that, and these deities, I mean, I've been traveling, and if you look, they're special. They're just so merciful and beautiful and attractive, special. Now, in Alachua, for years and years, I didn't even know this, there was a set of Krishna Balaram deities, full size, like in India, like in Krishna Balaram temple. But they couldn't install them because there was no room in the deity section for all the clothes that they needed and everything, because they had beautiful Radha Shama Sundar, and they had the Gaura deities, so they kept putting it off. So when Mukhi got this, she said, well, we have to install these deities. So she oversaw the building of a whole, all I can say is it's a kitchen building. It's huge, there's so many. Now all the cooking go on there, including the deity cooking. And therefore, the deity kitchen could be closed down in that area and provide room for all of the clothes that they needed. So then, I think she got these carved in India, and they're just fabulous. These Krishna Balaram deities. I have some pictures. I'll bring my iPad Monday, and I'll show you. Because I got up real close, And this Balaram deity, especially, when you get, I'd love to get it so they're just looking at you. And anyway, you'll see. So those deities are there, and she's still going on strong, Mukhya, overseeing all this. And then you have Vrindavaneshwari in not Washington, but Potomac, Maryland. I visited there a couple of times, and she's a really good manager. She's the son of a general, a former general in the army, so she has the Kshatriya spirit, and is very successful. Then you have, of course, Sandamani in Tucson. She's been there for many, many years, overseeing that wonderful restaurant and temple. And now they're building another temple. Last time I was there, they were building a big temple nearby. So that's very successful. And also in Chicago, I forget her name. She's the wife of the former president. And he's still there, but not as the president. He had to make some money to send his older girl through college, But so she took over Hemangi. So and Prabhupada, he didn't have any ladies who were on the GBC, but he had a great trust, in Yamuna Devi and others. The first Pujari in ISKCON, really, who learned all the ins and outs of it, was a lady. And she went around different temples. She was in LA for a while. When I was in Brooklyn, she visited there to oversee things. So the point is making that, and Prabhupada said it sometimes, that when it comes to Krishna consciousness, the ladies can become just as advanced as the men. So there's no, but isn't it, anyway. Huh?
Is there any talk of changing this in any way?
No. It's in the Manu Samhita. Yeah.
But I think there's truth in it, because as women, we're always scared in the sense, there's so much danger for us.
Yeah.
So men should protect us, but doesn't mean that he holds us down.
Yeah.
So I think there's truth in that. I would love to be protected. Sorry.
Yeah, why don't you say that out loud, because that would be good. That'll get me off the hook.
Krishna. I said, I'm coming from a background of being a feminist, but not anymore. I'm more like we're all equal souls. But I think as women, we tend to be, I don't want to say scared all the time, but I go out there, I'm scared. I'm not going to go out walk in the dark, and, for a man too, but, for a woman, maybe it's a little more dangerous.
Yeah.
So it's nice if men protect the women, but doesn't mean that they need to be kept in the house, or, like this vision that we always have to be enclosed.
Yeah.
But there should be a way that man is respectful and protect us, rather than...
Yeah.
So I think it's not completely wrong. it's a little...
Yeah, it's a little...
twisted,
it's a little shocking, but there it is. So if you get to page 624, even if you're a woman, you'll probably read the rest of the book, so...
But also what year this was written?
Well, it probably was part of that culture, so that's it. And it's in the Manosamhita. But it's not that everything in the, there's other stuff in the Manosamhita that I wouldn't even talk about, that there's no question of it, being pertinent to today's world. And we should understand that, the Krishna consciousness movement, being Krishna conscious, yes, there are all of these varnashram and these roles that are played, but they just serve as like a frame in which the Krishna consciousness is there. And ultimately, we're all spirit souls. We're all equal as spirit souls. But in order for things to go on nicely in the world, then we have to deal with the bodies that we have, so that things can be, harmonious. But you read about, I'll end with this. There was a certain period in 1970 where Prabhupada spent 8 months in the long LA temple. And it was just growing like crazy. Every day, new people would join. You had Vishnu Jan Swami there, who was this fabulous kirtan player and preacher, taking everyone out on Harinam. And you had so many others there. And Prabhupada was considering just staying there, because he could do his writing his books. He didn't have to worry with the management, Eventually, of course, he didn't stay there. He went back to India, and he's traveled all over the world. But it's described there and it's nice to check out this thing. If you get onto YouTube and you search for Following Srila Prabhupada, there's a whole series of, I don't want to say movies, but entries produced by Yadav Bar, the filmmaker, from video that had been taken, And he went, and he made it early enough, he could go to the devotees who were around at the time and interview them, and they could then tell what's going on, in the video. So it's very interesting. And it describes there, the ladies were saying, it felt like one big family. Prabhupada was there as the father, and everyone felt protected, and so much Harinam was going on, and you can see they're eagerly, serving Prabhupada and relishing, So the women didn't feel oppressed, by it, because everyone was ecstatic in Krishna consciousness, and that kind of smooths everything over. All right, so let's go on. Text 8. Asatyam apatishtam te jagadahu anishwaram aparaspada sambhutam kimanyat kamahaitukam. Now this is one of the most quoted verses from this chapter, and you'll see why as I read the translation in purport. They, the demons, say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say that it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Purport: the demonic conclude that the world is a phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria, I always thought was a plural, but it's not. It's a singular word, actually. A phantasmagoria. There is no cause and effect, no controller, no purpose. Everything is unreal. They say that this cosmic manifestation arises due to chance material actions and reactions. They do not think that the world was created by God for a certain purpose. They have they have their own theory that the world has come about in its own way, and that there is no reason to believe that there is a God behind it. For them, there is no difference between spirit and matter, and they do not accept the Supreme Spirit. Everything is matter only, and the whole cosmos is supposed to be a mass of ignorance. According to them, everything is void, and whatever manifestation exists is due to our ignorance in perception. They take it for granted that all manifestation of diversity is a display of ignorance, just as in a dream we may create so many things which actually have no existence. Then, when we are awake, we shall see that everything is simply a dream. But factually, although the demons say that life is a dream, they are very expert in enjoying this dream. And so instead of acquiring knowledge, they become more and more implicated in their dreamland. They conclude that as a child is simply the result of sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, this world is born without any soul. For them it is only a combination of matter that has produced the living entities, and there is no question of the existence of the soul. As many living creatures come out from perspiration and from a dead body without any cause, the whole living world has come out of the material combinations of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material nature is the cause of this manifestation, and there is no other cause. They do not believe in the words of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Maya jakshena prakati suyate sachadachadam. Under my direction, the whole material world is moving. In other words, among the demons, there is no perfect knowledge of the creation of the world. Every one of them has some particular theory of his own. According to them, one interpretation of the scriptures is as good as another, for they do not believe in a standard understanding of the scriptural injunctions. So, this is asatyama patishtam te jagadaho ishwaram, that there is no God in control, and everything is a result, but then where there's no intelligence behind it. So the only other alternative is that it just came about eons and eons of time of chance combination, and a few of them then produce the, and this is, you know, a major theory, the simple one-celled animals, the amoebas and things like that. And gradually by chance, you know, like that. So there's a nice pamphlet that was produced years and years ago called Origins magazine. And this deals, because Prabhupada would always come back to that, how it doesn't make any sense. Just like you're walking along the street and you see a watch in the grass, you know. So that's interesting, you know. Where did that watch come from? It must have grown there from the, you know, the grass. Obviously, you know, the watch, there's intelligence behind it, and it just happened to fall there. So that's the idea, is that somehow, you know, if in many billions and trillions of years, there is an explosion. This used to be called the Big Bang Theory. I don't know if they killed it. And then, you know, things exploded. And there were myriads of things, nothing came together, but there was some chance, you know, confirmed. The Big Bang Theory. The Big Clang Theory, we'll call it. Anyway, when you think about it, it makes no sense at all. Because just, I like to think, and just intuitively, if you want proof of the existence of God, just contemplate your own body. How complicated it is. How a little, you know, eat a little too much and balance goes off, you get sick or this or that, you know. But obviously, it's an incredible machine, right? I want to drink some water. You know, I don't have to say, okay, brain, now send this, you know, to this muscle here, now muscle eat up. No, but that's what's going on. But it's not. But I'm not doing it. You know, there's a higher intelligence that's arranged for it, namely God. So that just by my desire, the things go on. The water comes, I take the water. You know, and if I can't do it, there's something wrong with my arm. You know, then the machine is out of whack. So, but this asatyama patishtam te. When I think of verses that describe the demons, this is the one that usually comes to mind. Just by chance combination. Kimanyat, what else could it possibly be? But, you know, this. So Prabhupada deals with it here. And it's, there's so much, when you read this Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so much of the Bhagavatam. I remember reading the third canto, the last few chapters, the teachings of Kapila Dev to his mother. And it's all Sankhya Yoga, which is how the world came about. You have these 8 elements, right? But they're not going to do anything, you know. So in touch with the spirit soul and the false ego, when it interacts with the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, then the other elements of the body develop. It's fascinating, but it all depends on consciousness. We're simply particles of Krishna's consciousness. He's overseeing it. That's what this verse means. Maya jakshena. I'm overseeing it. Maya jakshena prakriti, nature. Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sachadachadam. Are functioning the moving and non-moving living entities. You see? Maya jakshena prakriti suyate sachadachadam. Hetunane na konteya. O konteya, by this cause, this is the cause. Jagat viparivajate, the whole universe is moving and acting and doing its thing by my oversight. So, you know, this is the real awe-inspiring aspect of the Lord. I'll tell you, one of the verses that really just blew me away, and it's so simple, but Krishna says, oh God, I forget the Sanskrit, but I know everything in the past, I know everything that's going on in the present, I know everything that will happen in the future. And to just think of the breadth of knowledge and all of the things that are going on just at this moment, You know, what to speak of all the things that happened in the past and all the things in the future. And also, there's this great verse, not in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada would always quote it. Natasya karyam kadanancha vidyate, natat samasyab jadikascha drishyate. Swabhavaki, karyam kadanancha something drishyate. I forget the third line, but what he says is that he doesn't. By his energies alone, everything is going on. Nabala kriyacha, and in other words, he wills to do something, but he doesn't have to do anything on his own, more than just desire that it happens. Because he's got all these energies that are expanded, and he's got these plenary and partial portions that have expanded. You've got Mahavishnu over there and all the Vishnus. So Krishna, you know, he wants the creation to take place. But he doesn't have to, you know, stop his pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan and say, Radharani, I have something to do. I'll be gone for a week, you know, creating the universe, and I'll come back, okay. No. This is what God must be. If you were God, what would you do? I play all the time. Leela, right? And everything would be the greatest pleasure. And when you think about it, this loving exchange is really, you know, the source of all the pleasure. And that's where different rasas, you know, with his friends, with the servants, and especially with his mother and parents and the gopis. So that's where his pleasure is, and that's where his attention is. But of course, he knows that there's all of these conditioned souls, they have to have a place. So that's going on. He's delegated Brahma, he takes care of so much, and the Kshirodakshai Vishnu and everything. You know, he's aware of it, but it's not something he has to worry about. But it's true that once every 5,000 years here or something, he comes down to personally try to start the parampara again, you know, because it becomes distorted from time. So why? Because we're part and parcel of him. He's our father. He has love for us. We forgot all about him, but he didn't forget about us. There's, oh, you know, we're having such a good time up here, but there's a whole bunch of my offspring that are suffering down here. So let me go down and speak the Bhagavad Gita and empower some representatives like Srila Prabhupada. So that's the situation. Now there's also this other question I'll deal with now. You know, one of the ways, the arguments of the atheists is this problem of evil. You may have heard of it. You know, if there's God and God is all good, why is there so much evil in the world? You have the Holocaust, you know, and you have children suffering and all of these bad things happening. Why wouldn't he stop it, you know? Well, he wants to stop it, and he tries to, you know, spread Krishna consciousness so that evil things won't happen. But this is a result, the demoniac nature, which is developed. They're the same souls, these demons, but they, due to rebellion, there has to be free will. Without free will, there's no question of love, you see? So we all have that minute free will, and if we misuse it, then we can't stay in the spiritual world. The spiritual world means that our whole desire is to serve Krishna for his pleasure. And that's the platform of our happiness and existence. As soon as you want to be independent and try to imitate Krishna, and try to be a separate enjoyer and controller, then there has to be a world for you, and that's what this world is. But in this world, then the demoniac forces can take you know, you can become a demon. I said, and now this is my you know, look like Hiranyakashipu. He performed so many austerities, but no penances. Prabhupada also says penances and austerities, but those are for the mode of goodness, you know, the devotees. But the demons perform austerities, no penances. Penances means repentant. Do you ever get the feeling that Hiranyakashipu was repentant for anything? No. Same thing with his brother, Hiranyaksha. No repentance. But devotees, oh, you know, I did all these bad things, you know, let me be good, you know, that's repentance. But Hiranyakashipu and all the demons, they're also souls. So they're souls who have turned away from Krishna, lost the connection, and become controlled by the lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance. And that means, you know, false pride, they don't know what to do, what not to do, and they can go to this way of taking pleasure in others' pain. You know, one of the qualities of the devotee is paradukha dukhi, which means empathy. you know, that I'm fine. I'm with Krishna all the time, you know. But here's these people suffering, and that's causing me suffering. The perfect example of that was Vasudev Dutt, one of Lord Chaitanya's disciples. And he told Lord Chaitanya, "Oh, Lord Chaitanya, I know you're Krishna himself. So you just take all of the countless living entities who are suffering here due to their bad karma, their sins, the sin-free actions. You just give me all the sin-free actions, you know, and you deliver them, and I'll suffer the sinful reactions forever." Lord Chaitanya started to cry because he saw that he was serious, you know. I mean, it was an incredible display of compassion, you know. And Lord Chaitanya embraced him. "Oh, you don't have to suffer for that, you know. I mean, that if they just take up Krishna consciousness, they'll be delivered, you know." But that's, you can imagine how. You know, I mean, it's just inconceivable. I mean, I could never conceive of saying something like that. So the whole idea is that we don't want to go down this road. It's easy to become, you know, an atheist, deny the existence of God, and then the next thing is, okay, now how can I exploit material nature, you know? And interestingly enough, and I'll end with this because it's getting late, there are various famous atheists around, you know, philosophical debaters, you know, and so forth over the years. And I once read an article, I forget where it was, how each one of them have, you know, became degraded. Because if there's no, you know, if there's no ultimate morality, then you can do anything you want. Because they became famous, they became rich, and they, you know, writing books and whatever, you know. And all of them went off into some degrading thing, you know, cheating on their wife or more different things, you know. And it just shows that without belief in God, there's no real basis for morality, and we have what we have out here. Even though people, and the young people aren't going to church. You know, they've given up on it because they saw it's a failure. Unless they meet a devotee on the street and get a book, you know, they're not even going to try believing in God. It's a very dangerous situation. All right, it's getting late. We have time for one short poem. Let's see. I'm running out of poems that you haven't heard recently. Huh? Any requests? Okay. Yeah, Maduram babadasivibho. Maduram badanam maduram. Madugandi madusmita metadaho maduram. Bilva Mangal Thakur. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. So one more, this now is the picture. Krishna is running out into the fields with his friends. He's in front, and the cows and the boys behind him, and they're going to play all day. "Let's go," said Krishna, "don't delay at all." And he and Balaram began to run ahead of all their coward friends who called, "Oh Krishna, Rama, let us join the fun." And off they ran to Braja's forest haunts, to play in every bower, grove, and sward. That's a meadow. The boys would tease their friend with playful taunts, forgetting his position as the Lord. Shri Krishna is inviting us as well to join him in his pastimes, which enthrall. The wise heed Krishna when they hear him tell, "Let's go, my friends, do not delay at all." And so let's not delay at all. Let's get ready for the kirtan. Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.